Before the world begins to pull you in every direction, before the noise of opinions, deadlines, and distractions flood your head, there is a sacred moment, the first moment of the morning. This is when you have a choice. A choice not many make, but one that separates the distracted from the focused, the reactive from the purposeful, the weak from the resilient. What if I told you that how you speak to yourself before the sun rises shapes not just your mood but your future? That the very first thoughts you plant in your mind become the roots of your actions, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. So every morning, whisper these 4 truths into the silence, not for the world to hear, but for your soul to remember. The first truth is this: I am the guardian of my mind. Most people wake up and surrender their minds before they've even stood up. They check their phones, they compare, they worry, they let the outside world decide what they should think. But the mind is not a playground for chaos, it is a temple. And the first task of every day is to guard that temple with presence. You choose what you let in. You choose what thoughts are allowed to live there. If you do not take control, someone else will. And once you lose the command of your own mind, life becomes a reaction, not a creation. Train yourself to think intentionally. Direct your mind like a disciplined warrior, not a drifting leaf in the wind. Second, tell yourself, what I do today builds my tomorrow. We often overestimate what we can do in a week and underestimate the power of a single day. Greatness is not found in occasional bursts of inspiration, but in consistent, simple actions repeated over time. That workout you don't feel like doing, that book you don't feel like reading, that uncomfortable conversation you keep avoiding, all of it shapes your future, brick by brick, choice by choice. If you wake up and waste a day, you are not just wasting time, you are wasting a piece of the future you claim to want. Your discipline today is the down payment for the life you desire. Honor that process. Don't seek results, seek effort, and the results will come. The third truth to repeat: my emotions are my responsibility. You cannot control how others speak. You cannot control how life unfolds, but you can always control how you respond. There is a gap between what happens and what you do about it. And inside that gap is your freedom. Don't give that freedom away to anger, to anxiety, or to fear. Emotions are signals, not commands. Learn to observe them, feel them fully, but do not become them. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel pain, but those who do not allow pain to dictate their actions. Mastery begins the moment you stop blaming the world and start shaping your response to it. And finally, tell yourself, stillness is my strength, not my weakness. In a world that celebrates speed, loudness, and constant motion, the ability to be still is often misunderstood. But the calmest mind is the clearest. The most silent heart is the most courageous. When you are still, you can hear what others miss. You can see patterns, feel truth, and sense direction. Stillness is not absence of action. It is the source of deliberate action. The warrior who can sit quietly and wait for the right moment is more powerful than the one who swings blindly. Find time every day to return to that stillness, not as escape, but as preparation. These are not just morning affirmations. They are codes. Codes for inner clarity. Codes for walking through chaos without becoming it. Codes that, when repeated with presence, become your armor for the day. Do not begin your day by scrolling into someone else's life. Begin by entering your own. Speak with purpose, move with intention, and let the quiet truth of your discipline echo louder than the noise of the world. Because every day you rise, you have 2 choices. Be led by the noise, or be guided by your own truth. Choose wisely, and repeat these 4 truths. Not once, every day, until they are no longer something you tell yourself, but something you become. When the first light of morning stretches across the sky, before your feet even touch the ground, you are faced with a moment of incredible power, a moment most people never recognize. This moment is not about the tasks that lie ahead, or the expectations placed upon you, or even the routine you've built over time. No, this moment is about something far deeper, far more important. It is about your mind. It is about the silent space between sleep and awareness, where your thoughts first awaken, and where your power can either be reclaimed or lost. This is where you must rise as the guardian of your mind. Think of your mind like a sacred temple that you have been entrusted to protect. A temple that is constantly under siege, not by armies or weapons, but by noise, opinions, fear, distractions, regret, and doubt. Every notification, every criticism, every piece of news, every negative thought waiting to sneak in, they are knocking at the gates of your temple. But you are the gatekeeper. You are not helpless. You are not passive. You decide what thoughts are allowed to take root. You decide which ones pass through and which ones are rejected. But here is the truth most people ignore. If you do not choose what thoughts to allow in, someone else will. The world is waiting to flood your mind with chaos the moment you open your eyes. It wants your attention. It feeds on your distraction. So if you do not step forward each morning with clarity and authority, you will spend your day chasing shadows and reacting to noise. Imagine waking up in a battlefield, unaware that you're holding a sword. You wouldn't survive. Yet every day people wake up and walk into the mental battlefield of life without recognizing their own power, without lifting their sword, without guarding the gate of their mind. They scroll their phones before they breathe deeply. They compare their lives before they've even entered their own. They let opinions shape their self-worth before they've had a chance to remember who they are. This is not peace. This is surrender. But it doesn't have to be this way. There was once a young man who struggled with overthinking. Every morning he would wake with anxiety, thoughts racing, heart pounding, already consumed by what might go wrong. He believed that his mind was the enemy. He tried to escape it. He would drown it out with noise, distractions, entertainment, anything to silence the chaos inside. But nothing worked. The louder the outside world got, the more lost he felt. One day he wandered into a quiet monastery, high in the mountains. It was there that he met an old teacher, a man who radiated stillness like a calm lake. The young man told him, "My mind is wild. I cannot stop thinking. I cannot find peace. I feel like I'm being attacked by my own thoughts." The old man listened patiently and replied, "Your mind is not the enemy, but it is powerful. And like all powerful things, it must be trained. A sword in the hands of a wild man causes destruction, but in the hands of a skilled warrior, it protects life. You must become the warrior of your mind." The young man asked, "But how do I begin?" The teacher smiled and said, "Begin at sunrise. Every morning, before you speak to anyone else, speak to yourself. Train your mind to listen to your voice first, not the world's. Remind yourself that you are the guardian of your mind. You decide what thoughts will enter. You decide what emotions will rise, and you decide what story you will live." That morning, and every morning after, the young man sat in silence before the world could reach him. He watched his thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. He no longer chased them. He no longer feared them. He no longer believed every voice inside him. Instead, he chose his thoughts like a gardener choosing seeds. He planted the ones that would nourish strength, purpose, and peace. Slowly, his anxiety faded, not because the world changed, but because he had. This is the power of guarding your mind. You don't need to go to a monastery. You don't need to climb a mountain. You need only to remember every single morning that you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness behind them. You are the one who chooses which thoughts stay and which must leave. And with that simple act of choosing, of returning to presence, you begin to transform your life. Being the guardian of your mind means learning the art of discipline, not the kind that punishes, but the kind that protects. It means noticing when negative thoughts knock at the gate and saying, "No, you do not belong here." It means watching the world try to pour in fear and standing tall enough to say, "Not today." It means protecting your peace like a lion protects its pride fiercely, unapologetically, and without hesitation. There will be days when your thoughts try to trick you, days when your inner voice sounds doubtful, fearful, uncertain. This is not weakness. This is training. Every guardian trains by facing the very forces they are meant to resist. So when your mind tells you that you can't, that you're not enough, that it's all too much, you don't fight it with anger. You answer it with truth. You answer it with presence. You remind yourself that you are not here to be ruled by fear. You are here to master it. And mastery begins each morning. Not with a dramatic moment, not with applause, but with a quiet choice, a whisper in the silence, "I am the guardian of my mind." Repeat it until you believe it. Repeat it until your thoughts reflect it. Repeat it until the noise of the world no longer has the power to shake the stillness within you. And when others lose themselves in the storm, you will stand at the center, calm, focused, powerful, because you trained, because you chose, because you remembered who you are. Every morning, one breath, one truth, one choice. That is where your power lives. There is a hidden architect inside every human being, one that silently works each day, laying the bricks of your future with every thought, every decision, every action. Most people never realize it. They wake up, go through their routines, rush through their tasks, and close their eyes at night, wondering why nothing ever changes. But the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Nothing changes because they don't change. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But you are not most people. You have already heard the call. You are beginning to understand that each day is not just time to pass, it is clay to shape. What you do today, even in the smallest ways, is a quiet investment into the life you say you want. And what you choose to ignore today becomes the very thing that will limit you tomorrow. The present moment is not just a moment. It is a seed. And every single seed you plant today will either grow into something that nourishes you or something that holds you back. That is why the mindset of later, tomorrow, or next week is poison in disguise. You are not promised another chance. You are not guaranteed another breath. So the question is not can you improve your life? The question is, will you make today count? Let me tell you a story. A man once dreamed of being strong, focused and full of peace. He imagined waking up with purpose, his body sharp, his mind clear, his heart steady. But every day he chose comfort. He hit snooze, he skipped the workout. He said, I'll start tomorrow. He distracted himself with entertainment, waited for motivation, waited for the right time. Weeks passed, months passed, years passed, and he woke up one day to realize that the man he dreamed of becoming was now a ghost. Not because it was impossible, but because he built nothing. Now contrast that with a different man. One who wakes up each day, not with loud ambition, but with quiet consistency. He doesn't do anything extraordinary. He just shows up every day. He trains even when he doesn't feel like it. He reads instead of scrolling. He reflects instead of reacting. He makes one better choice, and then another, and another. No one applauds. No one notices. But day by day he is building. His discipline becomes strength. His small habits become a fortress. His mindset becomes unshakable. And one day, the life he once imagined is the life he now lives. Not because he wished for it, but because he worked for it. This is the power of today. The mind is always looking for escape, some distant moment when things will be better, easier, clearer. But there is no someday, there is only this day, this hour, this choice. You are always creating. The only question is, are you creating progress or regret? When you decide to train your body even when you're tired, you are building. When you choose to control your reaction instead of lashing out, you are building. When you sit in silence and listen to your breath instead of running from discomfort, you are building. Every action matters. Every choice is a stroke on the canvas of your future. This is why complaining does nothing, wishing does nothing, blaming does nothing. The only thing that shapes your life is your ability to act in this moment without needing perfection, without needing motivation, without needing applause. There is a phrase that holds deep truth. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Anyone can give a great effort for one day. Few can give a good effort every day. But those few, they are the ones who rise. They are the ones who break limits, overcome pain, and build lives that others admire but cannot understand. Because what you see as effortless grace is not luck. It is the reward of daily effort stacked for years in silence without shortcuts. It is very tempting to measure your progress with the eye, to look at your body, your bank account, your goals, and ask, why is it not happening yet? But the deeper truth is that all growth is invisible in the beginning. Just like bamboo that grows its roots for years before breaking the ground, you too must grow in silence before you bloom in the light. You are not wasting time by showing up. You are compounding strength that cannot be seen until it is ready to be revealed. So ask yourself each morning, with honesty and without excuse, what am I building today? And whatever the answer is, live it. Even if it's hard. Especially if it's hard. Because the gap between who you are and who you want to be is not found in a book or a video or a plan. It is found in your willingness to do what you must do today, even when no one is watching. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, presence over distraction, growth over ease, you move closer. Every day you rise and build, no matter how small the bricks, you are living with purpose. And eventually your future self will thank you, not for being perfect, but for showing up. Because what you do today is not just about today. It is about who you are becoming tomorrow. And every decision is a silent vote for the person you are destined to become. So rise, build, begin again. Today is not just another day. It is the foundation of everything. There will be moments in life when your heart feels like it is on fire, burning with anger, pierced with sadness, trembling with fear. The world around you may stay the same, but inside it feels like a storm is erupting. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, and your thoughts spiral into places you never intended to visit. In these moments you may want to scream, shut down, lash out or run. It's natural, it's human. But if you are to live a life of strength and balance, you must understand something essential. Your emotions are not something the world controls. They are something you must take responsibility for. This is not about suppression. This is not about pretending to be calm when you are not. This is about ownership. It's about rising in the middle of emotional chaos and choosing not to drown. Because the truth is, nobody can make you feel anything unless you allow it. No insult, no failure, no event has the power to determine your internal state unless you hand over the keys to your mind. Most people spend their lives blaming. He made me angry. She hurt my feelings. This situation ruined my mood. But do you see the cost of that mindset? You become a puppet, a slave to circumstance. You walk through the world with your emotional center exposed, waiting for life to either flatter you or destroy you. But that's not strength, that's surrender. Let me share a story. A lesson passed down not through books but through experience. A young boy once asked an old monk, "Master, how do I stop others from making me feel bad? Why do I get so angry when someone insults me?" The monk looked at him, smiled gently, and said nothing. Instead, he handed the boy a glass of water and asked him to hold it out in front of him. The boy held the glass. A minute passed, 5 minutes, 10. His arm began to tremble. The glass was not heavy, but over time, it began to feel unbearable. The monk finally spoke. The weight of the glass never changed, but the longer you held on to it, the heavier it felt. So it is with emotions. When you hold on to them, especially the negative ones, they grow heavy. Pain is not always in what happens. It is in how long you choose to carry it. The boy understood, and so must you. When someone triggers your anger, they are not placing the emotion into your body. The anger was already inside you, like a spark waiting for fuel. What the world does is simply present opportunities, and your job is not to eliminate emotion, but to understand it, to master it. Because emotions are signals, not instructions. They are like waves in the ocean. They rise, they fall. You do not have to ride every single one. Responsibility means noticing the emotion and asking, what is this teaching me? What wound is it pointing to? What belief is it challenging? Instead of saying, I am angry, you can learn to say, anger is present in me. Instead of saying, I am sad, say, sadness is passing through me. This small shift in language changes everything. Because you are not the emotion, you are the awareness watching it. You are the silent space beneath the storm. This takes practice. In the beginning, you will still be pulled. A word will cut you. A look will disturb you. A disappointment will break your rhythm. But each time it happens, you will have a choice. You can react blindly, feed the fire, explode, collapse, or you can pause, take a breath, return to your body, and choose a response that aligns with your values, not your temporary emotion. Think of your emotions like wild horses. If you fear them, they will trample you. If you suppress them, they will grow restless and break free. But if you learn to approach them with calm confidence, they can be tamed, not to remove their power, but to direct it. Your anger, when understood, becomes boundary. Your fear, when faced, becomes courage. Your sadness, when honored, becomes depth. This is the work. This is the training. To feel everything without becoming everything. No one will do this for you. The world will not pause for your healing. Life will keep testing you. People will say things that cut. Plans will fall apart. Storms will come. But with each test, you can choose to build a new pattern, a new identity. Not one that avoids emotion, but one that owns it fully. Imagine the strength of a person who can stand in the face of insult and remain unmoved. Not cold, not numb, but centered. Imagine the clarity of someone who feels anger, and instead of shouting, they breathe deeply, speak truthfully, and walk away with dignity. That is not weakness. That is power. That is mastery. This kind of emotional discipline does not make you robotic. It makes you real. Real in the sense that you live with intention, not reaction. Real because your emotions no longer command your behavior. Like a wild army, they become your messengers, not your masters. Each time you take responsibility for your emotions, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You break a pattern of generations. You refuse to carry inherited pain forward. You become a presence of stillness in a chaotic world. And the people around you will feel it. Not because you said something loud, but because you became someone solid. So remember this, your emotions are yours. They belong to you, they rise within you, and their power depends on your relationship with them. You are not weak because you feel, you are strong because you feel, and still choose your path. Mastery begins not when the emotion disappears, but when you no longer fear it. When you can meet it, hold it, and still walk forward, carrying only what serves your highest self. In a world obsessed with noise, with movement, with action, there is something quietly powerful about a person who can sit in silence, not out of fear, not because they have no options, but because they choose to be still. We have been taught to associate stillness with weakness. If you're not busy, you're falling behind. If you're not speaking, you're losing influence. If you're not pushing, you're not progressing. But this is an illusion. And this illusion is stealing your peace, your focus, and your true power. Stillness is not the absence of strength. It is the foundation of it. Because stillness is where clarity lives. It is where you come face to face with yourself, without distraction, without noise, without anything to hide behind. Most people can't sit still for even a few minutes. The moment it gets quiet, their thoughts grow loud, their regrets echo, their anxiety rises, and so they run into activity, into scrolling, into conversations, into problems that aren't theirs to solve, anything to avoid the silence. But here's the truth that no one talks about. If you cannot sit with your own mind, you will never master it. If you cannot be still, you will be controlled by the world. You will react to every trigger, every judgment, every storm, and a person who is always reacting is never in control. They're not living life, they're being pushed through it by everything outside of them. Now imagine a mountain. No matter how hard the wind blows, no matter how loud the storm rages, the mountain remains unmoved. This is the power of stillness. It does not mean you don't feel, it means you do not allow what you feel to shake your center. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the inner work while the outer world continues to spin. There was a young warrior once, known for his speed, his skill, his ability to strike faster than anyone else. But in every battle, he was unpredictable. Not to his enemies, but to himself. He would panic, he would tire, his emotions would cloud his mind. He was fast, but he was not calm. He had strength, but no control. One day, he was sent to a teacher high in the mountains. When he arrived, he expected training, sparring, intense drills. Instead, the teacher gave him a flat stone and told him to sit by a stream. "Watch the water," the teacher said. "Do nothing else." The warrior protested. "I came here to become stronger, not to waste time staring at a stream." The teacher replied, "Until you can be still, you will never understand your true power." For days the young man sat, resisting every moment. His mind screamed, his body twitched. He felt like he was losing time. But slowly something changed. He began to see the water, how it moved around rocks instead of crashing through them. He began to feel the tension in his own body. He began to breathe deeper, think clearer. After weeks of silence, he rose with a new strength, not in his fists, but in his presence, in his awareness. When he returned to battle, he no longer fought with rage, he moved with intention. He waited, listened, chose every strike with patience, and no one could touch him. Stillness had become his greatest weapon. Most people think power is loud, shouting louder, running faster, doing more. But real power is quiet. It is calm. It does not need to announce itself. It waits. It observes. It responds instead of reacts. When everyone else is panicking, stillness allows you to see, to breathe, to act with clarity instead of chaos. You don't have to go to a mountaintop. You don't have to abandon your responsibilities. You only have to return to yourself. Every day give yourself moments where you are not consuming, where you are not reacting, where you are just breathing, listening and watching the mind. Let it move like the river, and do not chase every current. Let the thoughts come, let them go, sit like the mountain, breathe like the wind. Stillness is also the place where truth speaks, not the truth of the world, but the truth of your own heart. In stillness, you realize which dreams are yours and which ones were planted by others. In stillness, you see which fears are real and which ones are stories. In stillness, you remember that life is not a race, it is a path, and that speed is irrelevant if you are running in the wrong direction. In moments of stillness, strength gathers. It prepares you, it purifies your thoughts. It teaches you how to wait without anxiety, how to observe without judgment, how to act only when the moment is right. You do not waste energy, you do not waste time. You are efficient, clear, and aligned. And yes, people may not understand it. They may call it laziness. They may say, "Why aren't you doing more?" But you will know, you will feel it. That calm is not emptiness. It is awareness. That pause is not avoidance. It is precision. That stillness is not weakness. It is rooted power. Stillness teaches you the art of restraint. How not every impulse deserves a reaction. How not every battle is worth your energy. It shows you how to protect your peace in a world that is always trying to invade it. So the next time life begins to spin faster, the next time the world shouts louder, the next time your thoughts begin to race, choose stillness, not because you are hiding, but because you are preparing. Stillness is where warriors sharpen their vision, where masters refine their craft, where leaders find their direction. And when the time comes to rise, to speak, to act, you will not come from panic, you will not come from pressure, you will come from presence. And presence is always more powerful than noise. There comes a moment in every journey where the road is no longer about where you're going, but who you're becoming. A moment where everything you've heard, everything you've practiced, everything you've endured begins to form into something unshakable. This is not just a morning routine. This is not just a practice. This is a way of life. A disciplined mind, a focused heart, a spirit grounded not in fantasy but in daily action. You began this with 4 simple truths. But those truths are no longer just words. They are the roots you've planted, the armor you've forged, the compass you now carry. Each morning is no longer just another sunrise. It's a reminder that you are not a prisoner of the past, not a servant of chaos, not a follower of noise. You are the guardian of your mind. You are the architect of your future. You are the master of your emotions. You are the warrior whose stillness speaks louder than any scream. And now, as the world keeps spinning, as challenges arise, and as distractions roar like wild beasts, you will not shrink. You will not run. Because you know the truth now. Your power has never been in how loud you are, or how fast you move, or how much you do. Your power is in your awareness, in your choices, in your ability to rise with intention even when life tries to push you down. Remember, a lion does not need to roar to prove its strength. Its presence is enough. In the same way, your presence, built through discipline, clarity, and stillness, becomes undeniable. You walk into rooms not with noise, but with weight. You speak not with volume, but with depth. People may not understand how you became this way. They may call it luck. They may call it talent. But you will know the truth. You will know it was built in silence, through repetition, through practice, through mornings where no one saw you but you showed up anyway. There is a line from the greats. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. That habit is now alive in you, and that habit will carry you farther than motivation ever could. Because when motivation fails, discipline takes over. When the world forgets your name, your purpose will still whisper it. When everything feels uncertain, the foundation you've built will still stand. It is in this discipline that your legacy is forged, not in flashes of glory, but in moments when no one is watching and you choose to rise anyway. And when you're tempted to break, when doubt knocks, when life gets heavy, and it will, remember these words. Hard times don't create heroes. It is during the hard times when the hero within us is revealed. Every challenge is not an enemy, it's a mirror. A mirror that shows you who you really are. And if you've built yourself right, what you'll see reflected is not fear, it's fire. You'll remember the truth. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. This battle, this life is not about conquering others. It's about conquering your own mind. The laziness, the doubt, the fear, the excuses, those are your real opponents. And when you defeat them, nothing outside you can break you. This is why people who train the inner world are always calm when the outer world falls apart. Because they have seen chaos before, but they have mastered their reaction to it. They have felt pain, but they did not let it decide their future. They have walked through storms, but they did not forget who they were. You will become this person, not by luck, not by chance, but by choice. Every morning, the same choice. To speak truth over your life. To act with clarity. To feel fully and still move forward. To find stillness, not because you're avoiding life, but because you're preparing to dominate it with precision, peace, and power. You've heard the phrase, success is not owned, it is leased, and the rent is due every day. This rent must be paid in discipline, in awareness, in presence, not in rush, not in anxiety, but in calm, steady effort. And so the question is no longer will you succeed, the question is will you remain committed when no one claps for you? Will you guard your mind when the voices of doubt grow loud? Will you build today even when the results are invisible? Will you master your emotions when the world hands you every excuse to break? Will you choose stillness when your instincts scream to run? Because if the answer is yes, even just one more time, even just one more day, then you are already unstoppable. Not because life is easy, but because you are unshakable. The warrior that walks with silence, the leader that stands in storms, the creator who builds a legacy, one breath, one step, one truth at a time. So from this moment on, you are no longer someone who hopes to be strong. You are strong. You are no longer someone who waits for peace. You choose peace. You do not wait for the perfect day to begin. Today is your day. Right now is your time. The power is already in you. Now walk like it. Speak like it. Build like it. And every time doubt returns, remind it, you have already chosen. You are already becoming. And no force in this world can stop a mind that is focused, a heart that is committed, and a soul that is still. Because in stillness, the greatest warriors are born. And you are already one of them.